Welcome. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. My name is Brackett. I'm here with Marni, Cartelli, and Hunter Stark. We're so excited to be part of this and just can't wait to hopefully interact with everybody. I know we're all virtual today. We'd love to be in person, but we're excited to kind of make this a laid-back experience. Everybody can drop some questions into the chat whenever you want, and we'll try to get to them throughout the entire session. You don't have to wait till the end. So if you have questions, make sure you throw them in there, and we'll try to get to them as soon as possible. With that, just wanted to talk a little bit about Beyond the Impossible Thing, breaking barriers and redefining strength, what we're doing here today. The three of us, it seems to be a unique trio of people to lead this session and kind of create this discussion. We've all had different walks to this point, and it's kind of been one of the things about me. I've been with the organization Uplifting Athletes since 2007, and I've been to Global Genes Summit in person a few times, and in getting to know the rare disease community intimately, everybody is on a unique journey. And this is a little bit of a story and a background as to finding your path, finding your way. And what that means is finding the resources that can help you achieve what you need to achieve to live your life. And so I'm really excited to lead this discussion today, and hopefully it's impactful for everybody that's involved. So without further ado, Marni, if you wouldn't mind, we'd love to hear a little bit about what's brought you to this point as a part of this crazy trio on stage today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot, Brett. And thank you everyone for joining us today. It is a complete and total honor to be on this virtual stage. One of my very first advocacy events was Global Gene Summit. So this is really special to me. But I could sit here and I could rattle off my resume, which quite frankly is not very impressive, but will also not give you real insight as to how I got here and my journey. So let's start where most good stories start, and back at the beginning. And 7 years ago, I was working in medicine, loved it, and I was really good at my job. There was nothing I loved more than being a part of that surgical team until I had an accident in the operating room, which triggered my rare disease, reflex sympathetic dystrophy, or more commonly known now as complex regional pain syndrome. From that, my life spiraled. Treatments were hard to come by. And really my body I didn't recognize it. I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't get a handle on it. I lost my career. I became isolated. My story mirrors, I'm sure, so many of you out there, until one day I found myself with my back up against the bathroom door, closed, alone, with a handful of pills. And I was ready. I was ready, and I could not envision living the rest of my life the way I had become, just an unending cycle of pain. And it was rough. And I remember looking up, and I remember seeing how desperate I was in that mirror and thinking, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this to my husband. I can't do this to my family. I also said, I can't do this to my doctor, because I didn't want him to get in trouble. So I took that desperation and I thought, well, if I'm desperate and it's turning me this way, what else can desperation drive me to do? And I literally Googled, how do I advocate for rare diseases? And a couple organizations popped up. And I went to Global Gene Summit in, I guess it was 2017, and I was overwhelmed. That is to say the least of it, because there's so much information coming at you. There's these amazing people on stage that I sat in the audience, literally with my mouth open, going, I can't do what they're doing. I will never be like that. And while I had amazing mentor, anybody who's in the mentor program right now, I'm sure you can understand what I'm talking about, who took me around and introduced me to very welcoming people in the community, I still felt like an imposter. I felt like I don't belong here. What am I doing here? I'm just me. So I remember going to sit and eat lunch alone, and I overheard at the table behind me a bunch of guys talking fantasy football. That is me, my friends. And I started listening, and they really knew what they were talking about. And all of a sudden I pulled out my phone and I started changing my lineup around, because their analysis was 100% better than what I had done. And for the first time, I was like, wow, okay, there are people here that I can really talk to and really relate to. And I walked over to that table and I just introduced myself, and they gave me their cards, and they happened to be from Uplifting Athletes. It was an organization that I didn't really know much about. And so fast forward, because I can be a little long-winded, I go back home, and the NFL is doing their My Cleats, My Cause campaign. I don't remember what week it was, but it was around a little earlier than Christmas, because I remember saying to my husband, oh my God, I wonder if there's a rare disease cause here. And he's like, well, Google it. And I found that there were athletes representing Uplifting Athletes. And I said, I want a pair of cleats for Christmas. And he looked at me like I had 6 heads, but he's like, all right, go ahead and bid and we'll get you a pair of cleats for Christmas. So I'm a huge New York Giants fan. And one of the players, Riley Dixon, the punter, was repping Uplifting Athletes that year. So I searched high and low for his cleats. I couldn't find him anywhere. I didn't know how to bid. I couldn't get anything. And finally I said, you know what? I have their card. I'm going to reach out to Uplifting Athletes and maybe they can tell me how to bid on this. Well, it turns out Riley Dixon, because he's an amazing guy, gave his cleats away to a rare disease child. So there was no way I was getting them. How can you be upset about that? But that is how my relationship started with Uplifting Athletes, because a week later, a box arrived at my door, and it was a pair of signed cleats from Riley Dixon, which happened because of Uplifting Athletes. I took those cleats everywhere. I was like a 4-year-old with their new toy. Every infusion I went to, I had those cleats in my lap. Anybody who they would ask, what is that? And I'd be like, this is an organization that's working for the rare disease community. This is a player. I felt seen. I felt like it wasn't invisible anymore. And believe it or not, I had still carried that feeling through advocacy work, because I was trying to mirror what I saw on stage. I was trying to go the route that other people went, even though nobody told me I had to. Everybody said you will find your voice through the process. I didn't. Fast forward again to later on in 2020, and unlikely again, I started to spiral. I think we all had a rough year. I think the community knows better than anyone. My treatments were shut down. I was deemed non-essential. My body started to deteriorate again. And I was literally back at desperation. And I remembered that feeling from years earlier of how desperation can drive you to either make horrible decisions or make good ones. And that brings me back to Uplifting Athletes, because in 2020, they changed my life again. Brett?
Well, that's a good segue into where Uplifting Athletes is positioned in between sport and the rare disease community. And it's one that I got introduced to when I was in college, where as a college student athlete, learning that the rare disease community and what areas the rare disease community most needed assistance in was in awareness and fundraising, and really letting people know that we are in a position to help, as long as you know that you're looking to help in a way that you care, you see, you hear all that's going on with the rare disease. You might not know exactly what you need to do today, but if you care and you're willing to listen and you're willing to help, some very positive things can come from it. So Uplifting Athletes' mission is to inspire the rare disease community with hope through the power of sport, and be a catalyst for change within the rare disease community, and to empower researchers to find the next treatments and cures for rare diseases. And so in that position is how Marni came across us, right? So we work with athletes and teach them about the position that they're in, to make a difference and try to empower them to use that platform to help the rare disease community. We do that in a lot of different ways. And for me personally, I had a wild journey as an athlete, getting the opportunity to play in college and then playing in the NFL for 5 years. And along the way, I came across so many athletes that had great intentions of wanting to help, but had no direction for where they wanted to go. And so when I got done playing and got an opportunity to work full-time with Uplifting Athletes, it was a perfect marriage of finding a place where there was an opportunity to help others, and just trying to get a direction for how these athletes can really be positioned to help specifically the rare disease community. Marni and I have talked a lot about the parallels between sport and the rare disease community, and there's so many that we could talk about. But Uplifting Athletes in general, we are funding research. In the last 4 years, we funded 25 different researchers, almost $500,000 worth of research grants and early bench research. And we're trying to continue to try to lead the way and bringing the community together, which we are uniquely positioned to do at Uplifting Athletes, to gain awareness for the rare disease community and inform the community that might not already know about rare diseases, how you can help and how you can get involved and how you can join this community, and together we can hopefully unite and create this ecosystem where people feel welcome. You don't feel alone, and you can come along with us, right? We want to be able to walk alongside of the rare disease community and be a catalyst for change. So in my journey, I came across a few injuries, and the athlete community, you're able to have access to some really awesome care. And I tore my ACL. I ended up going down to Florida and got connected with Hunter Stark, who is an amazing physical therapist. I spent, a good part of 12 months rehabbing a knee injury with him, and really got to know him well and the unique characteristics he possessed in not just the profession he was in, but his personal just uniqueness that makes him who he is, that makes him special at what he does. And those two worlds for me collided. So the Uplifting Athletes world and Marni, and getting to know Marni and where she was on her journey. She reached out after this 7,000 mile challenge, really challenged her to step out of her comfort zone and take what she thought she was capable of and really knock that barrier down. And when she realized through the 7,000 mile challenge that she was capable more of what she thought she was, she reached out and said, "Hey, I need a different resource on my team. These physical therapists or doctors that I've worked with, I'm not sure if they're really pushing me or whatever that I need to get out of this." So I thought a little bit about it, and immediately I thought of Hunter, who works with high level athletes regularly early in his career. And I thought, man, this would be great for Marni to be able to work with him and eventually see how he can adapt what Marni needs to be able to push herself and keep her in a safe place and not risk her health, but also challenge her in a way that she can grow. So really think that Uplifting Athletes is kind of the middleman here that happened to be in a place just like we're positioned in between sport and the rare disease community to be a resource and help, and just to walk alongside everybody in the rare disease community to be what we're uniquely positioned to be. So I think it'd be appropriate, Hunter, if you would tell a little bit about how kind of, I reached out and told you about a friend of mine who was in need of some help, and I thought you were really uniquely positioned to help her, and kind of where that went from there.
Yeah, no, thanks, Brett. Special. I don't know if I'm special or not. I don't even know if I like being called special, because that kind of makes me seem like the rest of the field isn't special as well. I'm just a guy that's like cares about people. But yeah, so Marni and I got connected, and she basically told me what her goals were, what she wanted to do. She wanted to get pushed a little bit. And just like me working with anybody else, I went full force with those goals. We talked about what she wanted to do, where she wanted to end up. I don't know if we're to that point or past that point. I'm not really sure. But, I just went through a simple assessment, found out what she was good at, and we ran with that. So it was a pretty good fit right off the bat, just because she worked hard, and it's really all I could ask out of that. So it's been fun so far.
Hooking up with Brett and Hunter, well, actually that sounds terrible, but was really in 2020, it was an act of desperation. Again, like I said, the first time I was desperate, it drove me to advocacy. This time when I was desperate, I needed control. I needed to control something in my life. Everything was spiraling. So like Brett said, I joined the 7,000 mile challenge, which Uplifting Athletes, their inaugural 7,000 mile challenge was last year. And its whole goal was to unite the rare disease community and acknowledge we're not okay. And I was literally screaming there going, I am not okay. And so I set a goal that I was going to walk 5 miles, and I blew that goal out of the water. I don't know if it was anger, if it was, like I said, the desperation or the need to feel, I got this, I can do this. It was dumb because I paid for it. I paid for it greatly during that time. And that's what made me realize you can't jump into something without having resources, right? I just got off my couch and decided I'm going to do this. And it set me back for a long time. So I knew I had to reach out. I knew I had to find the right people. But I also knew that I was not giving myself enough credit. I was not fighting against my disease hard enough. This is me. I was accepting what was happening. And that was what was leading to that spiraling effect. So I found the one thing I could control. I could control, let's see how much we can push myself safely. And I knew I needed help. I knew I needed, and I reached out to my physical therapist. I reached out to as many people as I could find before I even thought of reaching out to an organization like Uplifting Athletes, and nobody could help me. Everybody was just passing me off. And then I just said, what do you have to lose? If there's anything you take from this session, please take, what do you have to lose by trying? So I decided to email Brett and see if he could help me. And that's how I met Hunter. And I remember the first couple months working with Hunter was strictly about PT, physical therapy. My arm didn't go past my chest. I think I couldn't bend over and touch my toes. I remember every workout that we couldn't do, I would email him, please don't drop me. I was terrified he was going to abandon me and drop me as a client because I couldn't do what we were trying to do. And it also made me realize that the common theme in this whole equation, this whole journey for me is fear. Since the day of my diagnosis, since the day of my accident, fear has controlled every aspect of my life. At first, I was afraid of what was happening to my body, then the diagnosis, then the prognosis. Then I was afraid I wasn't good enough for this community. Then I was afraid that I couldn't control anything. Then I was afraid that Hunter would drop me or Brett wouldn't help, or anyway, you get the point. It's fear. And the one thing that this whole journey has taught me, it's not about the physical. It was never about the physical. The physical was a manifestation of this life that I'm now living, that I was existing in, and now I want to truly live. And the big part of that is recognizing what limitations in my life are true. Because look, I have a heating pad, I have compressioned up, I'm not having a good day. There are true limitations to each and every one of us. And there are limitations that are there because we haven't developed the mindset of how do you adapt, how do you modify. And then there are those limitations that are placed on us because of ourselves, because of fear, because of acquiescence, you name it. And really, I just started this journey 18 months ago to figure out which ones are which in my life. And it has been the most rewarding experience. It has been what made me find my voice. You know, I'm not different than any of you out there in the audience. You know, I hope you're not looking at me going, oh my God, I could never be her. Because the truth is, I am you in the audience. I find your voice, find your path, find your inspiration. And that's really the way that this community works.
Marni, you're talking about your showing up to the Global Gene Summit in 2017 and being lost, and I think it was my first experience as well. And it is a little overwhelming for sure. I can't, from my perspective, meeting you at Global Genes and now to where you are today, it's a complete 180 of just your mentality. You exude more confidence. You have obviously just been an inspiration to me over these past few years to see. You know, I know that you have been in some places where, you know, it was dark and it felt lonely. But I'm so proud that you found people that make you feel like you belong, because there are so many people out there that probably feel alone and that they don't belong, and that's the absolute opposite. And I think that, which is awesome about the Global Gene Summit, that it brings everybody together, and so many friendships are built through that type of engagement, and relationships that I'm sure you've taken and built more over the past few years, being a part of all that, that let you know that there are so many people out there that care. So many people, and it's just a matter of continuing to push and push and push until you find the right people. And it's not going to be, we talk about failure, right? That maybe there's some opportunities that come up that don't work out like you intended them to, and maybe a doctor relationship or a PT relationship that might not be what it is, or what you need it to be, and that's okay. That means it's supposed to be in your life for a short period of time, and you're supposed to try again and not stop, and not let failure define the situation, but allow yourself to figure out how you're going to get the result that you want. I know that's easier said than done, but it's one of those things that I've been extremely inspired by the way that you've pushed through this and continued to find ways to build your team, to find the resources to help you, find the people that support you and lift you up, but also find the people that challenge you and want to see you continue to do better. So I hope that most people can in this short period of time get that sense, but I don't think that everybody can completely appreciate how energized and awesome you look right now compared to the mood you were in a few years ago. And I think it's a testament to this community, and your will to continue to push through that's gotten you to where you are. So thank you for all of that.
I think one of the things, Hunter, if you're comfortable touching on it, is, how, because there's a lot of people in the audience who probably have conditions that are very different than mine, and they're worried about if they wanted to do something physical or start seeing a physical therapist or anything of that nature. What are they looking for, and what are they, how did you know that, okay, there's things I can do? Or when I would send you messages that, oh my God, I'm on the floor screaming, that is a no-no. How are programs adaptable for people of all different abilities?
Yeah, I think the first thing you got to look at, and Brett kind of touched on this, is, how do you find a quote unquote good medical or health professional? I think that's the first thing, is like, find a good fit for you. You want to look for somebody that's going to be professional, but at the same time, look at you as a person. Not a diagnosis. Nobody's a diagnosis. Everybody is just a person first, and then you just kind of work off of that, right? So that's the first thing. And then also, don't be scared to fire people. Don't be scared to fire your medical professional and find someone else, because the important part in that whole equation is yourself. And so I think that's the first part, is just find the right person. Now, as far as how would your exercise prescription and different things be changed up? Well, first off, find a goal. Every person's goal is important. There's no goal that's insignificant. There's no goal that's small enough either. You want to look at these little micro goals, like being able to lift our arm above our shoulders, right? Just anything little can add up to something big. Right. So that's the thing. Don't start off with the biggest goal ever. That could be our end goal, right? But look at little goals, and that's how you develop the program, right? And then when I assess someone, you always want to see what are they good at, right? Start off with what their strengths are. Get little wins off of their strengths, and then the quote unquote weaknesses will build up, and they'll get stronger. And they'll get stronger, and they'll build off of each other, right? So that's how you develop a program. It's not, developing a program based off a certain protocol or based off of something you read in a book. It's based off of who you're working with, right? And that's how you make a program. It's very simple. You find out what someone's good at, and you just build off of their strengths like that. And if someone can gain confidence by getting little wins every day, every workout, then we're going to get better, right? And then you also look at, trying to get the word failure out of your vocabulary, right? Failure is basically just an opportunity to find a way to improve. You know, you always want to say, I always like to tell myself, you know, how to say good. You know, didn't get the job I wanted. Good. Go out and gain more experience, build a better resume, right? Made a mistake on a project. Good. We learned what not to do. You know, you got injured. Good. You probably needed a break from training. You needed a break and find a new way to train anyway, right? So when things are going bad, don't get all bummed out and frustrated in your program. Just look at the issues and just say, good. You know, you're not ignoring the things that are happening, but you're accepting reality, right? You're focusing on a solution. You're taking the setback and turning it into something good. And then if you can say the word good, then guess what? It means you're alive. It means you're breathing. And if you're breathing, that means you still have some fight left in you and you can continue with the program, right? So that's what we're looking at, is like always just getting the little micro wins and meeting our goals so that we build up to a bigger goal. Does that make sense?
I think that's perfect, because it really is what happened. Like I said, I was so afraid that when I couldn't do something, you would be like, oh, I'm done with this. I can't work with her. But every single time I tried, I started to get more confidence in that, well, it didn't work, but oh my gosh, I tried it. And now I know when I can't do something. I know every day it's different. Some days I can go and I can work out, and other days I can barely get off the couch. But the confidence that grew in me from knowing that I'm trying to show up to be the best version of myself every single day, whatever it looks like, however that comes to pass, gives me the ability to say that, good, okay, I'm resting today, good, as opposed to where I used to feel guilty, and because society viewed me taking care of myself as a bad thing, I don't care anymore, because I know I'm doing the best that I can do. And it actually is translated into so many different parts of my life, because I'm not doing things out of fear. I'm not doing things out of fear, excuse me. I'm not doing them because I can't do them, but that doesn't mean tomorrow or next week I won't be able to do them. And that I don't know, I guess that's just how I live my life right now, is I want to try. If I quote fail at it, it doesn't mean that I'm a failure. I either have to rework it, or this is getting scratched off as one of those things that I'll never be able to do.
You won't be able to do it.
Right. And for everyone watching at home, this is exactly what we go through on a regular basis. But I owe a lot. I owe a lot to this community. I wouldn't have gotten out of that first crisis of depression without this community, without the support, without those people welcoming me. And I never would have found my voice without Uplifting Athletes. And so it really is a strange journey I've been on, not your typical one. But for anyone out there who's watching, nobody said, how many of our lives have gone typically up to this point? If you're here at this conference, your life probably hasn't gone, quote, typical. So don't be afraid to have your voice go in any direction that feels right to you, that makes you feel like you have confidence and you belong.
Absolutely. One of the things I took from that exchange between Marni and Hunter is the difference between fear and hope. And when you let fear drive what you're doing, there's not the result as if you let hope drive. And a lot of times what hope is, obviously hope comes within you, but it can be empowered around you with who you put around you, right? The resources that you use to support you and your journey, the friends, the family. You know, there's so much to, I know when it comes to raising kids, they say it takes a village, but at the same time, in everybody's life, it's not just you. And a lot of times I've heard from the rare disease community that there's this alone feeling because there is different, or there is something that's not usual, or you're unsure of how someone's going to react to, for this example, Marni was unsure if, you know, if she failed a couple of times in a couple of her early sessions with Hunter, that Hunter was going to drop Marni. But when you have someone that cares, you have the right person in your corner, that's not going to deter what happens, right? They want to see you succeed, and everybody's journey is at a different length. Marni might have seen some successes early on, and that might not be the case for everybody. But it's almost a necessity to continue to move on and move forward and continue to try to put the right things in place and try to search for that win. And when you find that first win, to keep building it up. And this is a start of a parallel between what we're talking about in the rare disease community in sport, right? In sports. And there are a lot of things that Marni and I have resonated on because of the journey I went through in sport. Trying to get 1% better every day so that I could compete at a high level is very similar to what Marni has been trying to do on her journey to get 1% better every day. And some days you get 1% worse, but hopefully it's a step back that leads to a bigger step up. And you learn something, like Hunter said, you learn something from the mistake or the setback that helps you reapproach your situation and expand and grow the next time. So there's so many different parallels there. I would like to get to our first question from Frank. Frank dropped a question, had a question about uplifting athletes, actually. Frank, thank you for the question. How can we see if a university close to us is involved in uplifting athletes? Great question. I know Marni is now the #1 Northwestern Wildcat fan in the country. There we go. Marni has followed and supported our Northwestern chapter. We have 24 chapters of uplifting athletes at different colleges and universities across the country where we work with the student athletes to help them use their position on campus and sometimes nationally to raise awareness and raise money for the rare disease community to support the mission of uplifting athletes. And so you can go to our website, which is upliftingathletes.org, and right on the main page of the website, you'll see the current active chapters that we have across the country. And I encourage you to check it out, and also check out the chapter leaders that are associated with those schools, and follow them on social media, right? See what they're doing. And specifically, I know that's how Marni got in touch with the group of gentlemen at Northwestern who are just incredible individuals that have taken it upon themselves to really show that they care about the rare disease community and take action that represents not just what they're saying, but what they're doing in terms of caring for the rare disease community. We get to work with an amazing group of student athletes, and I encourage you to go check that out. Thank you for the question, Frank. Marni, would you like to elaborate on kind of for the chapters at all?
Also, if anyone wants to reach out to me, I have them all memorized. But the way I got reconnected with uplifting athletes was the Northwestern guys reached out to me because they heard about what was going on in an article that was published, and they wanted to know how to help the community. So when Brett tells you that these student athletes care, that's not an understatement. They have not only followed my surgeries and called me after them. They are last year when they were in the hunt for a championship, they would call me once a month just to catch up, to find out what's going on. This summer, they called to find out what was going on. I'm not saying everybody's like that, but I remember what I was like in college, and I was not volunteering for a rare disease organization. And these are athletes, but their heart is with this community. Their heart is with helping. So I really do encourage everyone to look around, look for leaders in your area, especially if you're interested in sports, which I think is a great parallel, like Brett has said time and time again. What we do to get through our days, that mental mindset, what it takes, the sacrifice that we put on our families, on ourselves, it mirrors what elite athletes go through. It is a perfect relationship between the rare and the sport community.
Well, it sounds like we're getting the countdown here. Are there any last questions that we can answer? Otherwise, I know myself, Marni, and Hunter are available to connect after this and would love to. So reach out with any questions, comments, concerns. If you want to just talk, we're here. I know we all care and we want to be there for anybody that needs help. So reach out and hopefully we can connect. Don't see any questions coming in. So if anybody wants to wrap with a certain comment, I'm grateful for everybody that, here's a question. Do you know of any similar organizations in Canada? From Annie? No, I do not, but we can look into it and see if we can find somebody in Canada that does something similarly. But thank you again for everybody that came and participated. Thank you, Hunter and Marni, for letting me be a part of this. This was incredible, and good luck to you guys as we continue on this journey, and I can't wait to see what happens next.
Yeah, very exciting. Thank you everyone for attending. We appreciate it.